But you know what, Jim? It's interesting because there was stuff that I didn't like admin work. Put me in front of a computer, I will my eyes glaze over. I don't want to do it.
Right.
And now as a business owner, I hire people to do all that stuff. If I don't want to do it, I'll hire someone that's good at it and they do it. And then I do what I like. And that's my goal, is to not do things I don't want to do and only do the things I really enjoy and I'm really good at.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
That's right. We are going. Absolutely. We kind of have a very casual way we're getting into things these days in this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Lyndsay Stafford, what's invisible, but you wish people could see?
Wait, are you in? This is the intro?
This is the intro. I'm
is
actually.
What's invisible?
But you wish people could see.
Well, I'm going to go with my gut and not overthink it, which is heart, intentionality.
Oh.
I feel like so many times people read into text has no tone or email or an action, and it's like, wait, the intention doesn't match what you perceived that for.
The context. Well,
yeah.
I guess the emotional context.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Sometimes you respond to something and there's so many different voices that you can apply to phrasings. We even talked about in a recent episode with Mike Mercurio. I went off on a tangent about the IRS.
No way.
I know. I'm not a fan of the IRS. Not for any particular reason. I don't know anybody who is. I know. And, I said, even the font that they use for the IRS is meant to be intimidating.
I think you're right.
It's totally true, right?
I do. So that is you can see their intention through their work.
Totally. Yeah, you're guilty until you're proven innocent.
I don't want to deal with the IRS. I'll just let my CPA do all of that.
We'll just
tell me
talk
where to
about that.
sign.
Yeah. So here we are again. We decided to bring you back on. What a great first answer, because typically I'll take these fun questions and set them up before we start recording.
Yeah.
But I knew enough that you're like, she's going to be on top of this. And I literally to be fair, I forgot about the question until we started recording. I'm like, I got to pick it out. And then it just kind of jumped out at me. But that's a great answer to that question.
Well, thanks.
It's very, if you could have a very materialistic, tactile element of what people really meant behind what they wrote.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you actually knew that?
Uh-huh.
I think it would help communication. Communication is one of those things that without it, people assume, and I think in today's world, there's a lot of assuming negative intent versus assuming positive intent.
I've been, quite frankly, very paranoid as of late. Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yeah.
Of doing this episode with me?
No, just in general. It's like when you have a lot of confidence is the memory of success. When you go through a season where you don't feel very successful, man, you your confidence can wane real quick.
It's so true.
But I've been overcoming that by, whenever you're in doubt or you're kind of trepidatious, you help other people and that helps you.
Love that.
So I've been doing that,
I love that.
It's been a challenging last year and a half in so many different ways, but
for a lot of people though too, right? I think, and we're sitting here and as we do this, I don't know when you'll air it, but March of 2025, 5 years almost exactly from the start of the global pandemic here in the US, which was March of 2020. And I think the world we've gone through this roller coaster ride, 3 different presidents, I guess, or 3 different terms now in 5 years, 2 different presidents. But there's been so much change think about artificial intelligence and the implementation of that. And just the online world that happened in 2020 through 2022, where everything moved to Zoom and remote. And then how does that get integrated with the world today? And so I think you're not alone. Most people have been through a lot of change in the last 5 years, and especially in the last couple of years. But your point about when you have periods of time where you don't see success in your craft, it can really crush you. Actually,
it's not, to be fair, it's not like I haven't seen success. It's just diminished. It's not as much as it was. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. Everybody thought they were knocking it out of the park from like 2015, 2016 on up to 2019 or 2020, early parts of 2020. And so everybody was thinking, oh, I've got this. No, it was a peacetime economy.
Yeah.
And, here we are, 5 years after, like you said, COVID pandemic and everything. We're reeling with challenges in the economy. I think there's also an element out there I bring up a lot. By the way, you are listening to the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast with myself, Jim McCarthy, and our guest today is it's her second time coming back. You are somebody who I have really been honored and grateful to have in my life, because you're one of these people that I don't know the answer to this question, especially when it comes to pricing and value proposition, especially when businesses get inside their own bottle. Mm-hmm. It's tough to see that kind of stuff.
So hard.
You're a good advocate to run things by. When you first came here, I said, hey, Ben and I are thinking about putting this thing together. Here's the price point. We're going to pitch it to this group of people. You're like, that's perfect. Yeah. That is, I would totally buy that.
Yeah.
And you weren't, because initially, whenever I do this, you're like, oh, your price way too low.
I'll tell you the truth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we need, But,
thank you.
In the realm of social media, bropreneur, machismo that's out there. If you don't have a six pack, you're not going to be successful. If you don't look this way or shave your head, you're not going to make millions of dollars. And it's like, dude, I don't have a shaved head. I actually did quite the contrary, because every other guy out there was shaving his head. My wife goes, look, I'm really tired of the bald look. You kind of rocked it for many years. Grow your hair back. And, quite surprisingly, I had a lot more hair than I really, even though I'm wearing a hat right now. A Boston scally.
It's your stylish, that's your like GQ hat.
It's my GQ, maybe my getting into my 50s hat.
Yeah.
Right? But you have all these things. There's a lot of people out there that aren't feeling the inspiration when they're coming from a bropreneur, fraternistic, I guess you'd say, hazing element, which is a lot of things that happened over the past couple of years.
Totally.
So many people, and it's like they're just hucksters out there, to the point where an actual Instagram page was created. I wish I thought of this idea. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Baller Busters.
No, stop.
Oh, dude.
Are we plugging them right now?
Baller Busters, whoever's behind you, if you're ever in the Nashville area, I want you on this show. I will totally plug it, because they got like 333,000 followers now. It's amazing.
Wow.
And they're just calling these people out. And I love it.
So funny. Sounds like something my husband would enjoy.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's happening a lot, and I don't think it's helping.
No.
With a lot of these guys. I think they're speaking to a lot of like a different kind of genre of, probably younger people that think that you can make money overnight and be an overnight success. But, we're all like 20-year overnight successes here.
That really is what it is.
So with that being said, I've just basically did a what grinds my gears segment on today's business operators. What is that for you? What kind of grinds your gears out there that you're seeing as well? Anything come to mind?
Like that, something that irritates me or I don't like.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So I'm 42, and I feel like I have tried so hard to constantly become the best version of myself. And part of that is I try to just eliminate the stuff that I don't enjoy and don't like, and negativity is part of that.
Right.
So I don't listen I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the news. I don't scroll social media. And I say don't, I mean like I may spend 5 minutes literally a day on social media. Like that's it. My team is responsible for putting the content out and engaging and all of that. My son and my brother, we send cat videos to each other. So I'm just not, I guess you try
to keep your mind out of that
I
stuff.
try to stay away from the stuff that I don't like. But what I do not like, what bothers me and what drove me to expand my business to what I do now is when people don't have best intentions for the person they're talking to or working with. When it's that selfish attitude of, I'm in it for me. It's about the money. What can you do for me?
How do I find the quickest way to extract the most amount of cash from you?
And that, I have seen so many business owners be sold something that isn't right for them, or have heard stories of people that believed something. And listen, people are going to make mistakes. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that everyone's going to be happy all the time. But when I think that's probably the thing that, as it relates to business, that bothers me the most is inauthentic businesses that really aren't doing the right thing for the customer, that's not their focus when it's really about them. And I shared this earlier with you casually. My dad and I he's one of my very best friends. We live next door to each other. We walk to the gym and work out and walk home together almost every single day.
Right.
And we read the same audiobooks. He listens to the books after I do. So we talk about them, create our own little book club. And one of the things we've talked about, he brought up, was all these books that you're listening to, the theme of the last 5 of them was like, just do more than what people expect, go above and beyond and do more. And that's how I try to live and run my business and my life, is like, how can I go above and beyond and do more for the people that I'm serving, whether it's my family or friends or clients. And businesses that don't operate that way that bothers me, because we're about so much more than just driving revenue, and individual success is not as fulfilling as helping other people to be successful.
Yeah. Like, right now, as you know, we're in the lighting space with J2 Lighting, j2lighting.com.
Can you please make it do the little ding, ding? Yeah, when you do that.
Ben, can we make that happen?
Can we please do that? And I want a copy of it. And then I'm going to use that for anything I can for you. I'm going to make it a meme or a GIF.
Every now and then, every now and then I look at the camera and I do the click without the finger guns. I should probably put the finger guns in there.
We need that.
But I have a client that we put a job in for, I don't know, 3 years ago now. And one of the lights went out. It's a warranty call, but the light's out of warranty. So I'm kind of like, I could nickel and dime him, maybe charge him for a couple hours of labor, but, I'll probably end up like knocking half the price off the light just to show good faith, just to be like, hey, we'll take care of you. We still got to get paid, but,
Right. You got to cover the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, sometimes you just got to do that. I mean, several podcast clients that I have, I go way above and beyond.
For me, I feel like you do. I'm your podcast client. I feel like you go above and beyond. I'm always super happy with everything that you do. And I feel like I never have to ask for more. You'd always be willing to do it. But
if you live a life of 51-49, that kind of attitude, Gary Vee talks about that, just be 1%, just start there. 1% more about them. I call it be them centric.
Yeah, I like that.
In social media, in marketing, it ain't about you until it is. And even when that does happen, that it becomes about you, it still ain't about you. You still got to make it about them.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so one of the things that I kind of wrote down, you did a podcast episode previous, and I jotted down a couple of things. You talked about loving what you do in the previous episode. And the whole adage is, if you love what you do, it's not going to feel like you're working, which we all understand. I think we've all had jobs that we all just like, why do I got to do this again? Well, just out of curiosity, have you had a job like that? And if so, what was it?
Where do I begin the list of jobs?
What was your first job?
My very first job. Well, I think probably most of us started babysitting or something like that. So I definitely was a babysitter as a kid. I'm the oldest of 5. So I was 12, almost 12 I was 11 when my twin brothers were born, and my sister is 4 years younger than I am. My brother Mark is 4 years younger than her, and the twins are 4 years younger than Mark. So I'm almost 12 years older than the twins. So I was babysitting my siblings at a very young age. And so it was very natural for me to babysit other kids in the neighborhood and things like that. But my first actual job, I was 16, and I worked at a tanning salon called Sensations, no longer in existence.
I remember them.
In Maine.
They're a big franchise, right?
No. It wasn't. Maybe it was not the one I worked for. It was one owner. Her name's Angela Coffey. I learned so much from her at 16 years old. And this is really bad, but I'm going to share the story anyways because it's funny. I was 16. Scoop? Yeah, it's funny. I was 16, and she started I learned a lot about business, even in that early age. When I started working for her, she had 4 tanning beds it was in a strip mall, and she ended up taking over almost the entire strip mall by the time I stopped working for her. I had a key to the salon even through college because I would still go back and help if she needed me to. But I used to write on the dry erase. I was the one who wrote all the prices because of my handwriting. And I guess I feel like I'm pretty terrible now, but I guess that's because I put 0 effort into it. But she had 4 tanning beds. And I remember her telling me when she started that she had 1 tanning bed. She bought it on a credit card. And she had 4 rooms in her salon. And she would overnight move the bed to different rooms so that people thought she had more tanning beds, because she was giving this illusion that she was like more successful than she was. And take that for what it's worth. All I know is I learned early on the real hard things about entrepreneurship and how you have to muscle through them, because I worked for a small business owner directly, and I was her go-to person for a lot of things. And she also taught me how to sell. This is the part that I shouldn't share that I'm going to, which is I was 16 years old. And she would say, okay, so if you sell through, maybe I was 17, and she would say, I want you to sell 10 bottles of this today. And if you do, I'll buy you a 6-pack of beer for the weekend, right? Like I'm in high school. I'm like, okay, I'll sell 10 bottles of whatever it is. But I learned how to sell from her. I learned how to be customer focused, and she was always do the right thing for the customer. That's the thing, is I learned early on how to help the customer make sure they felt like they were supported and taken care of and happy. Right. So I learned how to sell. I learned about entrepreneurship, but I hated cleaning those tanning beds. That was awful. I could tell a lot of horror stories. I won't on this, but
I can only imagine.
Yes, you can. But there's stuff you couldn't imagine that I could share. But working in the tanning salon was my first job, and I learned so much that I had no idea that would impact me. Thinking back now on working for a small business owner in that time in my life, and I made $5.25 an hour. That was the going rate at that point.
I think that was actually a pretty good rate.
It was pretty good for what for back. I mean, this was 2000. It was in the 90s, actually, late 90s, because I graduated high school in 2001, so this must have been like 98 or something.
Right. Actually, for 98, that was probably a little low.
I felt like it didn't matter. I was getting a check right, and so I was putting a check in the bank every week, and that's all that I cared about.
Did you have any value placed on what you were learning at the time? Did you have any idea? Were you aware of it? Really?
Not at all.
You were just exposed to it and absorbed it like a sponge.
Well, my dad is in business, has always been a business mindset, and he had his own business for some time. Not at this point. He was still working. I think he was working for LL Bean, which is what moved us to Maine when I was a kid. But I was always intrigued, and I've always admired my dad and wanted to have success. I never dreamed that I would just be a stay-at-home mom and, be home. I always knew I wanted to have some kind of business or work. And so I don't think I knew what I was learning, but I think I knew that I needed to learn, and I needed to be absorbing. And I think that came from my parents telling me that you need to learn what you can, where you are. Yeah. But I did that for a while, and then I waited tables. I was a hostess. Then I waited tables and I bartended. So I did that for a long time. Then I got into retail when I was 20, and I started working at Express in the fitting rooms, and I loved the customer experience. But I also learned I hated putting clothes back. I hated doing anything operational. I hated being told what to do. I just wanted to be able to help people sell and make outfits, and I've always loved fashion. So jobs that I don't like, there were parts of every job. And then in my adult life, I got into retail, and I spent 20 years in retail actually. Right. But I was a multi-unit leader for big companies, Nike, American Eagle, that kind of thing. And within those jobs that I had, I learned what I don't like, what I didn't enjoy, and what I liked. But you know what, Jim? It's interesting because there was stuff that I didn't like admin work. Put me in front of a computer, I will my eyes glaze over. I don't want to do it. Right. And now as a business owner, I hire people to do all that stuff. If I don't want to do it, I'll hire someone that's good at it and they do it. And then I do what I like. And that's my goal, is to not do things I don't want to do and only do the things I really enjoy and am really good at.
And boys and girls, that is the secret to life right there. What she just said, rewind it and listen to it again.
It's really true. That's what it comes when you talk about loving work and feeling like it's not work. It's the stuff that now, is there stuff I have to do that I don't like? Of course there is. There's always going to be stuff, but the trick is minimizing that as much as you can. And I've always felt like it's worth it for me to buy my time back. Not, some people, I think the saying is like, poor people operate in how can I save money?
Right.
And use myself to do things to save money. And rich people, and I'm not saying that I'm rich, I'm simply saying it's a philosophy of, they think, how can I buy my time back?
I think it's probably maybe better put, scarcity versus abundance mindset.
Yeah. The quote I'm sharing is from somebody, I don't know who it was.
Right.
Who said that?
Not that I'm challenging you on that.
No, you're right. You're totally right. And so that's the philosophy I use. And that's why I love what I do, because I don't have to do a lot of the stuff that I don't like. I hire people to do those things. You
kind of knew what you did and didn't like early on. You figured it out.
I figured out that I'm not really good at a lot. I'm good at a very few things, but what I'm good at, if I focused on getting better at that, I surpassed people around me because I had the skills, but also poured into the education to get better at those things.
Right.
So one, coaching and educating people. That's what I love to do. I love to figure out what somebody is struggling with, whether it's an individual or a business, and help create a plan for them to fix that, to get better at it. And that's what I do now.
You're similar to me. You're able to see the outside of someone's bottle.
Right.
And see their label because they're stuck inside of it.
Yes.
I see that all the time, but for me, it's a cobbler's shoe scenario. Up until recently, my wife, Courtney, has been really helping me with organizing my life, putting together a to-do list, because I've always been horrible. I'm like, okay, I just need to figure out what to do today. I know I got stuff to do, but prioritizing it, putting a list together is just one more thing to do. And it's like, I'm just not good at this stuff. I can relatively put a good, schedule together and keep my calendar. But since she's taken it over, it's like, oh my, what a weight to take off your shoulder. And she's kind of learning a whole new skill set to start, possibly doing that for herself. In, now that she's kind of coming off the bench being a mom, and she's still a mom, but, stay at home mom.
Yeah.
So we've been doing she's even doing my clips for me.
Good for
the
her.
podcast. I taught her how to use Opus and stuff like that.
Amazing.
And I'm like, hey, this is all my marketing. This is the last thing I can't, I'm overwhelmed.
You can't do it for yourself. And that's what business owners don't understand. And what I'm able to do now with Stafford Solutions, with my company and my team, is help business owners make sense of the chaos.
Yeah.
Because when you own your own business, and this is a honest to God truth, we're in the process as we record this of making some changes to my website, which is probably a constant thing for most business owners. You're always updating it.
Work in progress.
Right. It always is. But I finally said, I'm not doing this. I'm actually paying one of my team members to take my website and take our focus and our goals as a company and create what the new website looks like, the copy, the photos, the flow, the user interface, all of it. And I want to review it, but I'm not making those decisions. I could do that for somebody else, but I can't do it for me.
Right.
It's totally different, right? So that's a perfect example of, I'm willing to pay somebody else to do it because I know they'll do a better job than I can do a great job for somebody else's company. But when it comes to your own company or your own self,
it's tough.
It's almost impossible to be effective at it.
And there are people out there that I think can do it. I'm not sure, I think maybe they're the exceptions to the rule, but, even getting back to, Vaynerchuk, we talked about this with your previous guest. Right before this episode, we had your episode that we recorded, and we're in the midst of a batch recording that we kind of managed to fit an episode of mine in between of yours.
Perfect. We had it. Somebody was sick.
Yeah. And you talked about, just videography and somebody wanting one person to do like documentary style videography with same day turnaround.
Yeah.
Going out, shooting the stuff, and then bringing it home, unloading all the footage, editing it down, finding the storyline, putting all the graphics in, rendering it, getting up to social media, coming up with a thumbnail and some sort of strategic title to put on YouTube, and then do it all over again the next day.
In one day, one person.
In one day. That's doable. Yeah, $50,000 a year. We can get by. I'm like, dude, I had this conversation with a guy years ago that was asking for something. Like, yeah, I get you want to hire this out, but dude, you need to be spending like $2 to $3 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah. You're asking for Deadliest Catch Discovery Channel level documentary filmmaking. I asked him, have you ever watched the end of one of those episodes and look at the amount of people that are in the actual credits? Yeah. Okay. And how long does it take for those credits to run? Yeah, I've looked at that. I said, and you want one person to do this?
Yeah.
You're out of your friggin' mind.
Yeah.
You're a nuts. And I've never heard from him ever again. He actually asked, he's like, can you come work for me? I said, not for that. No.
Yeah. Add another zero and we can talk about it.
Yeah. I said, I said, $50,000 a year. I said,
yeah, no.
I'm willing to do that as a subcontractor and probably get you 2 videos a month.
Yeah.
A month? Yeah. So you probably could hire an employee for $50,000 a year. You probably have to kick it up to 65, 70, and you probably have a video a week, which I think would be fine for you to capture all these amazing conversations that apparently you're having.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com.
But yeah, it's definitely a dynamic to investigate. But that brings me to the topic, and we talked about it in the previous episode with AI coming into reality. What are your thoughts on AI?
Well, I think I like to think that we can be smart and leverage it. I think that I don't like to operate in the world of fear. I don't like to live in fear, and I'm faith-based, so I kind of just commit not to, because I think at the end of the day...
How many times is it mentioned in the Bible?
God's in control. I don't know, a lot.
Fear not.
I have read the whole Bible, but I don't know how many times it says that. But that's my philosophy, right? So first of all, if you are a human living in today's world and you don't have faith to fall back on, I don't know how you survive. Because for me and for my family, and especially as a parent... That's how my husband and I, that's our foundation of everything we do and say and teach for our children. And when you don't have an answer, which is going to be often as a parent, you have to have the faith to go back, to fall back on. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so with AI, I think I am optimistic in the ways that in which it can help us. I also think we have a responsibility to be very careful with it. But I'm not an early adapter to most new technology. I'm kind of a after the crowd with actually most things, to be honest. Like I think about Stanley Cups, like they're not the hottest thing anymore, but when Stanley Cups, like the like 40 ounce and then 30 and whatever cups came, I was like, why do I'm not getting one of those. My Yeti is just fine. And then I used my daughter's and had this nice handle, and the straw was great, and it kept things way colder than my Yeti. And I thought, well, actually, I kind of want one, but I don't want one because everybody else has one. Right. So that's me. I'm kind of like, I don't want to be a follower, but I'll get on board if it's good enough. And so
I get it.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So with AI, I feel like I'm not an early adopter, but I am, surprisingly, I have a 28-year-old that works for me. She just turned 29 actually. And she was not using AI like the way that I would want her to in business. And she actually said this to me. We had lunch on Wednesday with a client, and she said, I have never used AI the way that I do now since I've started working for you, because I believe so much in what we do in business is AI helps us to eliminate for me, a lot of it's research. It helps to minimize the amount of time that my team and I have to use to research certain topics. So let's say we take on a new client and it's in an industry that I'm not really familiar with. And I need to learn about that industry because when I go in, or my team and I, it's not just me, when we go in and we do fractional work, whether it's a workshop or we're taking on a fractional COO or CMO role, or we're just doing a one-day training or whatever it is, whatever the product that's purchased, we need to know the background behind that industry and that business so that we can adjust our resources and our guidance to make sure we're understanding.
Yeah, you're serving their business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because what we do is take a lot of what works in big businesses and help small businesses apply those principles and strategies. And if we don't know the background behind the business, it makes it harder to do. So we have to know. So we take our research down from, hours and hours and hours to minutes with AI. And that is a great tool. Another way I love to use AI is to just make my messy thoughts make more sense. So if I'm crafting an email or a message to someone, AI can make it make more sense for me, where it's better written than if I wrote it. So I can voice text while I'm doing something else. Let's say I'm curling my hair and I voice message to ChatGPT, hey, make this sound better. And then I can flip that over to my assistant and say, can you send this email?
Right.
And, I'm just so much more efficient with the use of that. The other thing I think is really cool, I had a friend, I won't say his name on air. He probably wouldn't care, but I won't. He's been a guest on my podcast. He may have been a guest on yours too. But he was going through divorce and said, you have no idea, Lynn, how ChatGPT has helped me to respond to text messages to my now ex, where I put in all these words that I'm really feeling, and it's not real sweet and kind, and would definitely cause some fighting.
It wouldn't, it would kind of poke the bear.
But you can put it into AI and say, make this not confrontational, and it still gets your point across.
Right.
So I think with communication, it helps us to be more streamlined, and it can help us with efficiencies. But it's not perfect and it's not human. And so we have to be aware of that. And there's got to be that filter of, you also need to check, because I also shared another story of AI saying, back to a peer of mine, I was being lazy. I sent you a dead link, right? I know we've talked about this before. I took the easy way out. This is AI typing this back to somebody. And so I think
AI admitting I've pretty much phoned it in. I'm sorry.
Seriously. And that's the thing is, we have to understand that AI is smart and it's going to have human traits like that. So we have to be smart with that
I think for the idea starters, especially applying some sort of massaging a humanistic element into it. You kind of addressed it, and it's funny that you drew out fear in the beginning from my asking that question. Because a lot of people are fearful. They've all seen the Terminator movies and all that stuff. And, it's Skynet. I see it like back in the 80s, the advent of the drum machine was huge. And it started the whole notion of, well, this is going to replace drummers. Never did. And you look back on it, well, why is that? Because people like the human element. I honestly think that most music these days is popular because, it's obviously going to be popular nonetheless, but it's so machinated. Is that even a word? It's like machinized. It's on the grid. There's a click that goes along and everything's got to fall right on the grid. If you listen back to all the bands in the 70s and the 80s and you put any of those hit songs on a click track, they vacillate. They speed up, they slow down. There's energy, drops, there's pickups, all that stuff. It's all human.
Yeah.
You listen to Led Zeppelin, they didn't play to a click. They did naturally from the heart. I think that's going to be a hole in the market.
I think with everything that is, we talked about this earlier, that with AI, you remove that human element. And I think, and who knows?
Machinated.
I don't have a fortune. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not, trying to see the future, but my gut tells me that what's going to happen is we're going to get so far away from human side of things that it's going to make people go backwards.
They're going to want to
crave too far back. Yeah. they're going to crave that human connection. And I know for me, I could probably leverage AI to say, you know what, I'm going to hire a business coach. I'm going to get AI to tell me what I need to do with my business. That is never going to be more attractive to me, even if you said it was more efficient, than an actual human with experience helping me with something. That's just my personal opinion. And I think it's like shopping online versus shopping in an actual retail store. And I think kids today, they like online, but you see, there is definitely a trend. My son and my daughter would be like, no, I need to see it. I want to feel it. I need to try it on. I want to touch it. There's this element of
tactile.
Yeah. Of actually, and you can't touch AI. It's not a human. It's not a thing.
I mean, you can do a ton of pictures and stuff like that. Whenever I'm researching something, what do we go to? We want to make sure it's the right thing. What are the specifications? I want to see the reviews on it.
Yeah.
But seeing it in person, I've had this hankering to get a new drum kit recently. For those of you who don't know, this will come out in plenty of time. Yours truly is going to be playing with a Huey Lewis and the News tribute band. Go to HueyTribute.com.
Oh, cool. When are you doing that?
And May 28th, see you at the City Winery.
Oh, okay. I want to go.
Heart of Rock and Roll. Well, make sure you let Ashley know at B&I because B&I is buying tickets.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so you and a
Yeah,
plus
I would
one.
love to go.
Let her know.
Okay.
And they'll put you on the list.
Cool.
So in the process of shopping for drums, I'm looking at Marketplace. I'm looking at all the different retailers. They're all the same pictures because they have minimum advertised pricing requirements. But if you go to these stores, they're all like, oh, hey, we'll let this thing, and their sales processes are so jacked. It's so funny. I was actually in one prominent drum store a couple of weeks ago up in Nashville, and I was looking at this DW. I mean, DW is like a Mercedes BMW level kit.
Okay.
And the price is like $4,000 for it. And they're like, hey, we'll get that underneath $3,000 out the door with tax and everything. I'm like, dude, not a way to start a sales conversation, man.
We're now deal shopping.
Yeah.
You want me quality and experience shopping, not deal shopping.
Well, I thought it was just kind of funny that, I'm looking at it and they went right to price. And I'm, no, sell the value of this thing.
Right.
Sell me on why that price makes sense. Okay. Not, hey, we'll make you a killer deal because we just need to get rid of it. It's like, no,
Jim,
dude.
we need to go in and offer a sales training workshop to this company.
They've been around for a long time, and I can't, they're a legendary drum shop.
Well,
but it's like, things could be improved. But I mean, there I was, having a tactile experience, wanting to see it in person. Yeah. Because online only takes you so far.
Can only go so far. You miss that human side.
Do you actually, I feel badly when I use ChatGPT. Do you write your requests as demands or are you?
No, I say please.
Do you? I was going to ask, are you polite about it?
I totally do.
I do the same thing.
It's so bad. Could you please say that this way? Could you please reword that?
Yeah.
But I talk that way.
Just remember that I was nice when you guys get together and want to wipe out the
all
human
of
race.
Us remember that I was kind. No, but that's the way I speak. This is an interesting topic because.
Do you do that with Alexa too?
I don't use Alexa.
Really? Not
really.
We have Alexa in our home. My wife's always like, Alexa, could you turn on the switch, please?
Yeah, I would do that too if I was going to. But I don't really use Alexa that much. We've got Sonos in our house. Mm-hmm. So for music, I use Sonos.
Whatever your AI assistant is. Yeah. Sonos, Siri.
Well, I think
Alexa.
I don't use it enough. I'm learning right in this conversation. I was 42 years old today when I learned I need to have Alexa or Siri or something to do voice assistance for me.
Because you're a late adopter.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm self-admitted at least.
Yeah, that's all right.
But no, I think how we communicate through written communication, email, texting, I feel like that is a lesson that school needs to teach that kids don't understand. It's like these text messages are usually acronyms, no punctuation, and then you go to emails and I see professionals come in and their emails are just horrible. Yeah. And there's no consideration where it's like, I had to coach somebody the other day, this is a few weeks ago, I guess, and said, hey, just FYI, like you're going to get a lot further when you're respectful and kind in an email. If
Right.
you want something from someone, saying like, hope you're having a great day. Would you mind? Please and thank you. Those acknowledging that they're human and like addressing them as such is going to get you so much further. So I think, but that's how I was raised, to say please and thank you and to be respectful. And so I even treat my robots that way.
Ben, do I do that? Do I actually, Ben's in the room with us. He's helping us out with video as of late. When I text you, I'm very cordial and polite, aren't I?
Always.
Good. You got your paycheck this week. What's that? You could be the disembodied voice. Hold on, let me see.
You're invited.
Yeah, you're invited.
You just were invited into the conversation, Benjamin.
Totally.
Benjamin has my favorite boy's name. That's my son's name.
So Benjamin's on. Oh, here, I'll put you on camera.
Benjamin,
I have a camera?
What's your middle name?
Ryan.
Oh, I like Ryan. My son is Benjamin David Andrew Stafford, and both my kids have 2 middle names, which is the whole thing. They hate it. They're like, you are horrible, Mom. I can't believe you did that to us.
That's very Catholic of you.
I'm not Catholic.
I know. But a lot of people, Catholic people, have like
it's also,
6
it
names.
really just shows that I'm indecisive is all it is, because I couldn't choose one. So I had to, it's like, I'm not going to obey the rule. I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
Ben is Benjamin David Andrew. My husband is David Benjamin. So his is flipped. And then
I like that.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
David Benjamin and then Benjamin David. And then Andrew is my dad's middle name. It's a longtime family name. There's a lot of Andrews in our family. So I wanted that. And then Isabel is Isabel Grace Lee. And Lee is a family name on my mom's side. I just liked Isabel. But Grace, it came from Amazing Grace, the song.
Our rule of thumb when we named our daughters was, gentlemen, welcome to the stage. And we'd plug the name in. And if it sounded like a stripper name, we didn't do it.
Well, that's a good rule.
Yeah.
No stripper names were welcome. My rule was their first name, I needed to like the nickname because I knew I was going to call. So it was Izzy, and Ben and Isabel doesn't like Izzy. She's gone through phases. Like one day, not now, she's almost 8. She'll be 18 next week. And she's definitely Isabel. Yeah. But we went through Izzy. No, I'm Isabel. How dare you call me Izzy? Then it was like, no, I'm back to Izzy. Okay. Now it's Isabel. Yeah. Ben has always been, if I say Benjamin, he's like, yes. Yeah. I know I'm in trouble.
Yep.
It's Ben. Yeah. But we do it with our cats. We have 5 cats. Fun fact. Not a lot of people have 5 cats, but they all have nicknames. And like the last 2 we just got, it's Nola and Scooby are their names. But I was very like, I didn't name them. We ended up, that was a whole thing. We let the kids pick them. But I was very adamant that it needed to be nicknames that I could like, because I know they're all going to have a nickname.
My when I first started working at Mercedes, there were 2 other Jims. So in the car business, it helps if you have a unique name, because when people call in, they're going to remember your name. So I would always try to associate a story. So one of the guys' names was Jim. He was there before me, so I couldn't be Jim. And there was another guy named Jim. And I said, well, hey, I could at least be Mac, because McCarthy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And no, the other guy he had a Mac for a last name, so people called him Mac. And I'm like, what? I went by James. I went by my formal original James.
Welcome to the stage, James.
That's right. So everybody knew me as James. That does not sound stripperish,
so that's good.
Yeah. James is regal.
Yeah, James is good. That's how I felt about Benjamin. Yeah. It's just a good, strong name.
Yep.
And same with Isabel. It's like good.
As long as it's not, like, even if, my theory on stripper names, the name has to end with an like a Michaela. Sierra, all those different names.
Only because you can do that voice.
Right. Welcome to the stage, Sierra, Michaela. So
we need to have not that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, even if you did Isabella, Isabella is not a stripper name.
No.
Yeah. It's a very almost Italian name.
It's a classic.
Classic name.
It's classic. Yeah.
That's right. Isabella.
But I turn everything into nicknames.
Right.
I call her Muffin, which she hates, but that's literally, I call her Muffin more than I call her anything. And I don't know why. I do. And Ben is just Benny Boy, but he doesn't like that either. So
now here's my question. How loud is the eye roll every time you call her Muffin? Like,
she's over it now.
Is it fully, like you can hear the eye roll now?
She now is like fully accepted that that's just going to be what I call her. And she used to eat a muffin every morning for breakfast, and her boyfriend would pick her up and be like, a muffin for Muffin.
This makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. The math is mathing.
Yeah.
I get it.
There you go. So moving on and wrapping up because we got another one of your guests here.
Yeah, I'm excited. You'll have to have her on your show. I'm talking to Brooke O'Dell.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do that. Moving forward, you are definitely being one of the most prolific coaches, and kind of circling back around to what we started out talking about. I love your authenticity because even in that word itself, I find issue because it's evolved since the last 20 years into something that is the meaning of it is distorted now, and we got to bring that back.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people talk about authenticity, but they don't realize what it is. It's like there's a vulnerability that's got to come along with it, and they take that aspect out of it. Well, no, I'm authentic. This is who I know. It isn't. This is a posed photograph.
Yeah.
This is everything about that you're doing is somewhat scripted. Authenticity is like this podcast. It's a real conversation.
Right.
With some of these people that are out there that are, you're a legitimate, bona fide, an experienced business coach that even goes out on a limb and puts a risk factor out there for people, which is what?
Yeah. So there's three things. So I own Stafford Solutions. My company does three different things. So one, we do marketing and advertising work. Two, I do coaching. So one-on-one, we do coaching, one-on-one, group coaching, masterminds, that kind of thing. And then consulting work. So fractional and consulting work. So we do a lot of workshops, 1-day workshops, 2-day workshops, spread out over time, or we'll go in and operate as a CMO, chief marketing officer, chief operating officer for a business for a period of time to instill, systems and things like that. And so when we do that, when I'm going to take on a client, I say, if you do not feel that you got what we committed to doing for you, if you're not happy with it, don't pay us.
Right.
And I've not yet had that happen. But the culture on my team and my team bonuses based on the evaluations of our clients. They bonus based on the delivery. It's not just based on new clients or new sales. It's on renewals and execution of clients coming back to us. And I've yet to have to do that. But I want my clients to be happy, and I want to go above and beyond. And so that's what we do is we under promise and over deliver in terms of what we're going to be able to deliver.
Well, we could certainly talk for another hour.
Yes.
And we'll probably have to.
Third time's the charm. I'll come back.
Third time is, This is a fun conversation though, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always love our time together. I think in life, you only have so many hours in your day and your week. And when you think about how you spend it, a lot of it is typically working, right? And we spend quite a few hours together a month compared to how much time I spend with other people in my life. And you're always here recording my podcast, and it's always good to be back, but I always enjoy our conversations.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Yeah. StaffordSolutions.com.
It's actually LyndsyStafford.com.
LyndsyStafford.com.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks
put that in the show notes, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. And of course, guys, make sure you hit us up. If you like the episode, share it out with your friends. However you are listening to it now is wonderful. Give us a 5-star rating. I will allow a 5-star rating. I'll allow you to roast me if you give me a 5-star rating. How does that sound? So go ahead and do that. I have a thick skin. I can take it. Give me a 5-star rating and rip me to shreds if you like. That's fine. MMTBP.com is the website. The Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.com is also available, but way much longer. MMTBP.com. There's a link there if you know somebody that would be a good fit and they're in Middle Tennessee. Obvious, you'd think. Send them there. The link is there. They could sign up and apply to be a guest on the show. Lyndsay, always a pleasure again. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.